Hey guys, Kevin, Muddy River Tactical. Today we're at the range with the old wheel gun. You know, revolvers have been around for a very, very long time, and for good reason, but nowadays it's 2023. Everybody, it seems like revolvers are going down with all the semi-autos, and semi-automatic pistols are great, but definitely let's not forget about the revolvers. In some ways, revolvers, in my opinion, are superior in some situations and for some opinions. So today we're going to hop in and talk about some of the biggest pluses and minuses of revolvers and who are the right people to carry revolvers. So stay with us and we're going to dive into those deals today. All right, guys, revolvers come in all shapes, sizes. Today, we're going to really talk about the snub nose type, concealed carry type revolvers. So, in my opinion, I'm a semi-automatic guy. Semi-automatics have a ton of pluses to them. More round capacity, just they shoot better. There's a lot of pluses to them, but a lot of people tend to forget the advantages of a revolver. So I definitely don't want to write off revolvers, and I'm going to tell you why today. So first thing, like we said, revolvers come in all shapes and sizes. So you got the traditional no hammer, only double action on this one. So it's full double action the whole way, every shot, whereas this one's a double single. So it's got a double action, or you can cock the hammer and it just be the single action. So either way, there's two different styles. There's pluses and minuses to both of them. I personally like the hammerless versions for concealed carry. When you're carrying inside the waistband in any of these holsters, this holster covers that hammer. But if you had a holster that didn't, the hammer would be exposed. So like here, there's no hammer, so it's just more smooth transition against your body, personally. But both of them are good options. And why we're looking at the holsters right now, in revolvers, holsters revolvers are super easy to conceal, and a lot of people don't fully realize that. So it really comes down to your holster option though. So we make Kydex holsters, which is what I would suggest. We make leather as well, but I'd suggest a Kydex holster for it. But unlike your normal Kydex holster on a semi-auto that the clip is kind of in the middle of the gun, that doesn't work so well on a revolver because of the angle of the cylinder there that already makes a natural bulge. So on these revolver holsters, it's the only holster we make like this, but the tuckable clip is up over the trigger guard, which just makes it as streamlined as the gun. So as you can see there, there's no extra bulk or anything like that. So if you're getting a Kydex holster for a revolver for concealed carry, I would highly, highly suggest getting the tuckable clip. We do offer other clips on them, but they don't work nearly as good, so definitely keep that in mind. But going back to concealing it, this gun, it's got a smaller footprint, and it's just easy to conceal for most people. I personally carry one every once in a while. The other good thing about, luckily I live in a state that don't have restrictions, but if you're in one of those states that have the 10 round capacities and stuff like that, all these revolvers can fit inside of that category. Most of them for concealed carry are 38 specials or 357s. However, if you get a 357, you can shoot 38 special in it as well. So it kind of makes it nice for when ammo's hard. Like, we just went through the whole COVID crap where ammo was hard to get, super expensive. If you had a 357 revolver, it just gives you two options to ammo to shoot through the same gun, so you can shoot 357 for self-defense and then shoot a lighter grain 38 special at the range, which makes it a little easier to shoot. So one of the minuses of a revolver is, first of all, the round capacity. So this particular one, Ruger LCR, which is one of my favorite ones, is super lightweight and has a 5 round capacity. So those of you not familiar with revolvers, you just push the button there, and this slides out, and you just load them in the cylinder. Pretty self-explanatory. But then you also got these, like this is a Taurus 856 Ultralight, which is a 6 round. So both of these are 38 specials. So there's all different ones, and then there's some that are 7 rounds, and if you get into 22s, or some that are 8 rounds. So you got a lot of different options. The main thing for me for concealed carry is a short barrel. You know, the 1.87 is kind of like the J-frames up to the 2-inch, you know, snub nose. They make them easy to conceal. One of the downsides about revolvers, though, is they are a little harder to shoot. But with that said, I won't say anything's fail-proof, but they're not prone to the issues that you could have with a semi-auto. So, in my opinion, if you are somebody completely new to shooting pistols, concealed carry, women a lot of times that just aren't going to go practice, or even men, we got guys that come into the shop and buy a pistol and never shoot it. Well, that doesn't do you any good. So with a semi-auto, there's stuff that can go wrong. You know, you got it going back in and out of battery, you got failure to eject, you got magazines, you got all that stuff. Whereas on a revolver, if you load the rounds into it, it's pretty simple mechanical mechanism there. Very little to go wrong. The chance of failures out of a revolver aren't very high at all. It's literally pull the trigger and shoot, and there's not much to worry about. With the double action trigger, it's a long, deliberate trigger pull, so it's pretty safe as well. You don't have to worry about those people that are worried about safeties and stuff on guns. You know, that double action long trigger is super effective for, you have to deliberately pull it. But my point to all of that is, if you buy a semi-automatic pistol and you don't go to shoot the gun, you don't go practice with it, you're not going to be proficient with that weapon in a self-defense situation. If it malfunctions, you're going to have zero idea what to do with it. And then essentially it's putting yourself in a more harmful situation, because you're posing a threat to somebody which could get yourself killed without being able to defend yourself. So definitely whatever gun you carry, you want to be proficient with. And for people that just aren't going to put in the time and training, which I highly suggest you do, but I also am aware that not everybody's going to put in as much time, a revolver, in my opinion, is a super good option. You can practice, you know, if you're not going to go shoot at the range, with this double action. So you make sure the gun's empty and you can dry fire it, but you just point and just fully cycle the trigger. And essentially, if you put this like in your house in a safe direction with nothing beyond it, dry fire and put your sights onto, you know, a light switch or doorknob or whatever you're pointing at, and slowly pull the trigger. And as the trigger pulls, and if your sights don't move and are still on that target, you've essentially hit that target. Essentially, there's no reason you shouldn't. So it gives you a way to practice a lot easier than having to use a matrix or racking the gun back and forth with a semi-auto. But with nothing to really go wrong on a revolver, it's just a real fail-safe thing. The other thing about a revolver that a lot of people don't realize, in self-defense situations, there's no one-size-fits-all self-defense situation. 9 times out of 10, it's super close quarters. Fight could be involved, you know, scuffling, grappling, whatever. There's a lot of situations that could occur. So in a semi-automatic pistol, if you push against the slide and it comes back out of battery, like somebody's pointing a gun at you and the slide, or it's up against something or somebody, and that slide's pushed back, the gun's out of battery and it's not going to shoot. Whereas a revolver, there's nothing to go out of battery. It's literally a barrel and a cylinder. Nothing's got to manipulate back and forth. So this can be pushed all the way up against a target, whatever, and still shoot 100% of the time. Or just say like in a pocket or something. There's nothing that reciprocates like a semi-auto, so it can just shoot without needing the room and space, which is also a reason why it's way more reliable overall. I'm not saying semi-autos aren't reliable, they are, but if you don't know how to manipulate them, you could be in a problem. So a revolver gets rid of a lot of that. Me personally, my wife carries one in her purse a lot, just because it, like I said, it's always there, it's always loaded, don't have to worry about it. It's got the long trigger pull on it. It's just a safe option, and she's comfortable with it, and that's the main thing. So when you get a revolver, especially a short barrel revolver, it's not a 30, 40, 50 yard shooting gun. That's not its intended purpose at all. It's a super close quarter gun, and it does a very good job of doing that, and it does it very well. The one thing I will say, and you just seen me do it there, I'm so used to shooting a semi-auto that the main thing that can go wrong with a revolver, and this is something that most people don't think about, is this straight double action trigger. So this gun's empty now. It doesn't have a reset like what a semi-auto trigger does. So like on a semi-auto trigger, we go and then slowly go back and wait for the break and shoot again. But you can't do that with this. This has to fully engage back and go again as it rotates the cylinder. So you can't, you know, short fire it. You'll run into issues and it won't shoot. And I'm guilty of it as well because I don't shoot revolvers. So that is the one downside to revolvers that I can tell you, which isn't a super big deal as long as you're, you know, think about it when you go to shoot it. But most people, you know, if you go to people that aren't trained anyways, they normally don't shoot off the wall or the reset on a semi-auto. So that's not a concern, but I just like to bring it up as well. No matter what you shoot, you need to practice with, obviously, but a revolver is just a good way to ensure that your firearm works. There's very little that can go wrong with it, and it's always going to be there when you need it. All right, guys, so those are just my quick thoughts on revolvers. I definitely think you should not fully discount a revolver in all situations. There are times and places that they can be beneficial and good, either as a backup gun or a primary gun in some situations. The main thing is knowing how to use it, and if you're not prepared to use a semi-auto weapon proficiently and in all situations, if you're at the range and a semi-auto jams and you have to think on what to do to fix it because you don't train enough, you definitely don't want that in a stressful situation. So in those environments, a revolver is definitely a good thing to have. Less round capacity, but you can count on the round capacity working 99.9% of the time. I mean, you see very, very few revolver failures. And like I said, if it is a failure, it's mostly user induced, either, you know, short stroking the trigger like that right there. Other than that, there's very little that can go wrong. And in the real world situations, you know, whether you got 5 or 6 rounds, that should be plenty to get you, you know, either out of that situation or defend yourself in the close quarters that a revolver is going to be good for. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm curious to see what you guys think. I know there's a lot of people out there that still like revolvers. That's why I wanted to bring it up today and kind of bring it up for some of the new shooters, because you just don't see them as much or talked about with all the new stuff coming out. But definitely don't write them off as an option. If it's what you're comfortable with, it is way, way, way better than not having a pistol on you or a revolver, a gun on you for concealed carry. So definitely think about that when you're in the range. If you have any questions, leave them below. Definitely get out there and practice. I don't care if it's a revolver, semi-auto, get out there and practice. You owe it to yourself and those around you if you're going to choose to concealed carry, to be the most proficient with your equipment as possible. So I highly suggest you get out there, get some training. If you guys got any questions, leave them below. We're always here to help. We're not trainers by any means. We're just in the industry and get a lot of questions from people, and anything that we can help you with, we want to. So leave all those questions and comments below. We're always here to help, or shoot us an email at support@muddyrivertactical.com. If you need any holsters for any of your revolvers, semi-automatics, anything like that, check us out at muddyrivertactical.com. That's what feeds this whole channel. That's what allows us to be here to bring you gun reviews, tips, different things. So definitely, if you want to support us, that's the way to do it, is through the holster company. So until next time, keep practicing and always be prepared.